Good morning, boys and girls. I've asked you to do some measuring, and we're going to now have a look at marking our measurements and seeing how we did. So the first one, I asked you to measure your board in crayons. So you should have taken your crayon and you measured. So I'm not sure which way you went, but maybe you measured it this way, maybe you measured it that way. So this is how I did it. I took a crayon and I measured it going across. So let's have a look. I went 1, 2, 3, and a tiny little bit. So I'm just going to write that my board was 3 crayons. I'm not sure how many crayons you got for your board. Then I asked you to do your lounge in steps or in feet. So some of you might have done your feet like this, where you went your foot, your foot, your foot, going across your lounge. Some of you may have gone across this way. But I went across this way, across my lounge, and I went step by step by step. And my lounge was 15 of my feet. I'm not sure how many yours was. Then across a table in your house, and you had to do it with hands. So I used this table that I'm videoing on, and I went across the table. It's my dining room table, and I went with my hands, and it was 8 hands. So 8 hands going across. And then the last one, I had to measure the chair that I'm sitting on with kokies. So I used the koki, and the chair was 2.5 kokies. Now, I'm not sure how many of your answers were the same as mine, but that doesn't mean that they're wrong. It means that they are different, and that is a big, big problem in measurement, because when we measure something, it needs to be exactly correct. So, because we have got different measurements, we have a bit of a problem. Because if you are buying something, no matter where you are buying it from, what shop or what country, it needs to be the same measurement. And now we've seen there's a bit of a problem here. Because let's have a look at what happened. I asked you to measure your board in crayons, but you probably used your waxies. Or maybe you could use your new pencil crayon. But all our crayons, especially if you've used your pencil crayon and maybe some of you have sharpened it already, are different sizes. And look at the little crayon I used. So my measurement will be different to yours. And also, I didn't say whether you must measure the board, the width going across from top to bottom, or the length from side to side. So that all makes a difference, and that's why our answers are different. So we can't have that. Okay, so that's a bit of a problem. Then our lounge in steps, maybe you went the way that you walk in steps, then you would have got a different answer. And another big problem, the same as the board, maybe you went across your lounge this way, maybe some of you went across your lounge this way. That would make a difference in the measurement. So if you wanted to buy a carpet that fitted your lounge floor, and you did it in your steps, it would be different to the carpet that I would get in my steps, and then the carpet wouldn't fit, and then we'd have a problem. So if I have a look at these two shoes, this is my son's size of his foot, big foot, and this is my foot. So if I measured with my feet, it would be a lot different to his big foot. And then we would have different measurements, different problem again. So your foot would be even smaller than my foot. And so your measurements of the lounge would probably be much bigger than mine, even though it might be the same size lounge. So that's the problem. And then the table, I measured across. You might have measured this way, and my hands maybe are bigger than yours. And so I got 8 hands, but our tables are also all different sizes. And then the chair was the last one. We maybe all had the same Coke keys, but we've all got different chairs. So I had 2.5. And also, again, I went across my chair and not this way. So we have a big problem. And the way that we can sort that out is that when we measure, everything has to be the same. Almost like with a pattern, the same thing over and over again in a pattern. Everything must be the same when we measure. So we must measure in the same way, and we must use the same measurement. So we cannot measure in crayons that are different, or maybe if I asked you to measure in pencils, you would get a very different measurement in that pencil to that pencil. So to make sure that if you are wanting to get material to make a fence around your house, that if you phone up Builder's Warehouse, that you can say, I want so much of, I need so many pencils of the material for the fence. We can't say that because Builder's Warehouse, maybe they'll use this pencil, maybe they'll use that pencil, they won't know what to do. So we can't use measurements like this if we want it to be accurate and correct. So none of your answers were wrong, but we were measuring incorrectly. So now I'm going to sort out the problem in the next video for you to show you that if we had to phone Builder's Warehouse, once you know what I'm going to tell you in the next video, that we will be able to make a fence around our house and it will be correct. And then we won't have any of these problems with different answers because we've used different measurements. We need to use the same measurements.